Hey, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. And in today's video, we'll be covering 11 new Nintendo eShop games worth buying, so let's get into it. So one thing to note is that currently at the time of filming this video, all of these games are on sale, but depending on when you're watching this, some of these might not be on sale anymore. But even with that being the case, a lot of these games are great, and I highly recommend playing them. So even if they're not on sale, if you like what you see in this video, I think many of them are still going to be worth picking up, or at the very least, you know what to look for and pay attention to when these games go on sale another time. But with that being said, let's jump into the video. So the first game on the list is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And so this game is based on a movie which is based on a manga series that came out, and it follows Scott Pilgrim, who is trying to get a new girlfriend, Ramona, but in order to do that he needs to defeat all of her past evil boyfriends, and there's 8 of them in total. And so that's really what this game is about. So it's kind of a fun, unique story, but it's an action beat 'em up game with a lot of RPG elements. And the first time I played this was back on PlayStation 3, and I loved it at that time. It really reminded me of River City Ransom from the NES, but a souped up version of that, where, like I said, it's an action RPG mixed with a beat 'em up game where as you defeat enemies, you'll level up your character to learn new moves, but you'll also get money that you could buy various items that power up your character's base stats. And so again, it takes those RPG elements and combines them with this action beat 'em up game, and it's a lot of fun. You can play local co-op in the game as well, which is really cool. There's a bunch of different characters you can choose from, and this collection that's on sale right now on Nintendo Switch includes all the DLC as well. And for me, I was super excited to hear about this game coming out because I played it at a friend's growing up on PlayStation 3, like I said, but due to a licensing issue, it was removed from the eShop at that time. And so for many years, there was no way to play this game anymore unless you had previously downloaded it onto your system. And so I've always been wanting to get a copy of this game for myself, and right now it's on a big discount, so it's a great opportunity to pick it up. But let me know in the comments below if you've played this game yet, as it's one of my favorite beat 'em ups, and I think it's a lot of fun. Alright, the next game on the list is Resident Evil Revelations. And so I did a review on this game a while back, and for me, I avoided playing this game for a long time, mostly because I was a little bit confused on when it actually took place in the storyline, and on top of that, it was a little bit different than your traditional Resident Evil games. Where again, most of the Resident Evil games are numbered, you can play right through them, but on top of that, this game focuses on more of a episodic type layout of the game, where you'll play an episode as a specific character and their partner, and then when that episode's done, you'll jump to another storyline that's going on at the same time. So in this game, you're playing as Jill Valentine and her partner throughout the game, and Chris Redfield and his new partner throughout the game, taking on the latest global bioweapon conspiracy that's happening. And so again, it maintains the formula from like Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, where it's a third-person shooter type game, and the game itself takes place between Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 5. Now, one thing that's really cool about this game as well is it makes it a little bit more action-oriented. So traditionally in previous Resident Evil games, whenever you wanted to use an item or switch a weapon, you're going to have to go back into the inventory, select that item, use it, and it really kind of stops the flow and the action of the gameplay going on. Where in this game, it maps those different elements to various buttons on the controller. So you can switch between different weapons very quickly at the push of a button. You can use healing items and more, which really ups the intensity of the game. On top of that, one aspect that I really like of the game is the raid mode. And so this is kind of a cool arcade mode where you get to replay various missions again through the game, but you can also play as multiple different characters where each have their own unique strengths and abilities. But on top of that, you can use a bunch of different weapons and gain experience, get points that you can buy new equipment and upgrade your guns and more as you play the game. And so it's super addicting, going through and leveling up your character, improving your equipment, trying to get through the different raid missions, and it was really hard to put down when I started playing this. And so if you haven't played Resident Evil Revelations, I definitely recommend picking it up. Now the next game on the list is actually Resident Evil Revelations 2. And so this one's also on sale right now. And this one is a little bit different than the original Resident Evil Revelations, as it focuses a great deal on cooperative style gameplay. And so the game you can play 2-player if you want locally, which is really cool, or if you're playing through solo, you'll need to switch between the playable characters back and forth to solve various puzzles and get through different areas. And in this game, the main character focus is Claire Redfield, as well as Barry Burton, who has appeared different times in this series. But in this time, it's your first opportunity to actually play as him. And so you have a couple other characters that come along the way that have unique and interesting abilities and really switch up the play style of this survival horror game. Now, one thing that's really cool is that characters kind of have different abilities that you can level up and improve on as you play throughout the game, and kind of different skill trees that you can unlock. And the game also has a raid mode as well. And this really takes that first Resident Evil Revelations raid mode and takes it to the next level. And so there's a ton more weapons, there's even more characters you can play as. You'll spend a ton of time getting sucked in and leveling up your characters in this as well. And like I said, the game is on deep discount right now. So if you haven't played the first Resident Evil Revelations or this one, I would definitely recommend picking up both, as they're some of the best Resident Evil games outside of the main line in the series. Alright, so the next game on the list is Skull the Hero Slayer. And this is a brand new game that just came out a few days ago, and it's a roguelike action game where you play as a Skull Knight trying to defend your demon kingdom against the evil human army. And so what's cool about this game is, again, it's that roguelike action type game where you have the ability to switch to different heads, which can dramatically change the playstyle and abilities of your characters. So there's a bunch of different playstyles. There's action, aggressive, melee type characters. There's spell casting characters. There's characters that are quick and agile, and the list goes on. And each one of these can really switch up the playstyle of each character as you go through the game. And so again, it's going to be a typical roguelike style game where the gameplay can get incredibly challenging, and you'll progressively get a little bit stronger each time in each playthrough. But since there's so many different characters that you can mix and match, it can really keep the gameplay fresh. And again, it's this 2D Metroidvania style gameplay where, again, it's focused mainly around action platforming, but then there's intense boss fights within the game as well. And so like I said, this game recently just came out, so they're doing a launch / pre-launch sale right now, so you can pick it up at a discount if you like what you see. Alright, so the next game on the list is the Diablo II Collection. And so Diablo II was one of the first action RPGs I played growing up as a kid. We got it on the PC, and I remember sinking hours and hours into the game. And it's an isometric view action RPG where you're going through dungeon after dungeon, fighting wave after wave of enemies, and the gameplay is incredibly addicting. There's hundreds of different items you can find throughout the dungeons, and different ways you can customize your equipment and level up your character with various different skill trees as you go. And there's a bunch of different character classes that you can choose from as well as you play the game. Now, the game itself is not a direct port of the one that came out many years ago. It's a remastered version, so the graphics have been improved, various different quality of life aspects, and there's even online play as well. So if you want to play an old school action RPG that's incredibly fun and addicting, I highly recommend checking out Diablo 2. And it's on sale right now to boot, so you'll save some money while you're at it. Alright, the next game on the list is Touhou Luna Nights. So this is a quirky action RPG with Metroidvania style gameplay. So again, an action platformer where, oddly enough, you play as Sakuya, who is a maid, has the unique abilities of being able to throw knives and stop time. And so again, like I said, the storyline is a bit unique, and there's actually been tons of games in the series, so there's a lot of background and story that goes into the game if you're familiar with that. But I wasn't when I played this game for the first time, and so it doesn't really alter the experience. But the gameplay is pretty cool. Like I said, it's an action RPG, Metroidvania. But what's neat, again, is the ability where you can stop time. And the game also has a unique mechanic where you can graze enemy attacks, and doing so will help regain your health as well as your magic power. And so it definitely has some challenging boss fights, but as you play, you'll go through, unlock new areas, gain gold and experience from defeating enemies, use that to buy better equipment and level up your character and more. It's not a super long game, but it's definitely a fun game nonetheless. And I think if you like Metroidvanias or action platformers, this is a cool one worth checking out. Alright, the next game on the list is Star Renegades. And so I did a review on this game a while back, but it's a turn-based roguelike RPG. And so I haven't really played many of those. A lot of them are more like action RPGs or action platformer Metroidvanias when they're roguelike games. This is a roguelike turn-based RPG. And so it's a unique concept of a storyline where basically there's an evil AI that is destroying the universe, and your job is to stop them. But every time you fail, you actually send back a little robot through a dimensional portal, through the multiverse, to reappear in another timeline, in another dimension, where this evil AI has not yet destroyed and taken over the universe. And so each time you go back, you build a ragtag batch of heroes to go out and try and defeat this evil AI empire. And so the gameplay is really cool, but one thing that I really like is the battle system, where you need to be incredibly strategic as you play. And so there's kind of a status bar timeline that you need to manage effectively if you want to win battles. And so how this works is each attack that you do will push back the enemies a certain amount, and if you push them back far enough, you can actually break them, which causes them to lose their turn and allow you to do massive damage. And so you really need to be strategic with this and time exactly what moves you do when and what characters are going to do what to be successful. And so the game is extremely challenging, but every time you die, you have that ability to steadily improve your characters and make it a little bit further each time. And so I really like this game and I highly recommend checking it out. Alright, so the next game on the list is Rivals of Aether. Now I've done a review on this game before and I still don't really know how to pronounce the name, if it's Rivals of Aether, Rivals of Aether, Rivals of Aether. I don't know, let me know in the comments below. I'm sure I'm butchering it, but either way, it's a super fun game that plays incredibly similar to Super Smash Bros. But one thing that I really liked about this game is the fact that it has its own unique cast of characters. So instead of being a bunch of Nintendo-based characters or video game-based characters, it creates its own lore, its own storyline, and unique characters. And so almost every character you can play in the game is going to be animal-based, and then also some type of element-based. So you have like a fire lion, you have like a wind eagle, and it kind of goes on and on like that. And so it's pretty cool to have these different elements combined with these various different animals as you go through and play. But one thing that I really like too is that each one of these characters is vastly different. And I didn't necessarily see that coming, where I kind of feel like in Smash Bros, certainly some characters are different than others, but it seems like a bunch of them are kind of clones of each other and they all play pretty much the same, just kind of have a different skin on it. Obviously with Smash Bros. Ultimate, there's a lot more characters to choose from, so there's many that isn't the case with, but I felt like the unique characters was a really cool aspect of this game, where each one kind of has their own unique strength and speed and abilities as well that you can play as. Now the game does have some guest characters that you can unlock through DLC, like Shovel Knight and Ori, so that's definitely cool. And on top of that, the gameplay is in pretty much like 16-bit pixel art style graphics versus like a 3D Smash Bros. Type graphics. And so that's another really cool aspect of the game, where it feels like you're playing Super Smash Bros. On the Super Nintendo, but still with the same addicting, high quality gameplay, just a different visual feel to the game. But let me know in the comments below if you've played this game before. It's on sale right now and I think it's definitely worth picking up. Alright, so the next game on the list is Ys 8. And so the Ys franchise has a ton of games in it. I'm a relatively newbie to the series, but from a lot of people I've seen online, they talk about this as being one of the best ones in the series, and it's on sale right now. And so in the game, you play as the hero who has been shipwrecked on this island, and you go out and try and find a way to escape from this island by finding other castaways and working together to build a community to get off this island. And so it's an action RPG that's super addicting and has a ton of hours of gameplay to it and some unique battle mechanics as well. And so it is an action RPG, but again, each character has their own unique skills and abilities and kind of different character types. It's almost like a rock, paper, scissors mechanic, where some enemies will be weaker against different types, and you gotta match the character with that. And so you can bring 3 characters with you as you explore, and then you can switch between them during battle to use the various different abilities that you need to at a given time. So if you like action RPGs with addicting gameplay, this could be a great one that's worth picking up. Alright, so the next game on the list is Resident Evil 4. And so I've talked about a bunch of different Resident Evil games in this video, and Capcom is actually having a Resident Evil sale right now. So if there's other ones in the series you haven't played, definitely check them out. But Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorites out of the entire series. I think the reason for that is it made a big shift in the style of gameplay. And so prior to this game, It's kind of a bird's eye isometric view with more or less tank controls as you play the game. So it was still awesome and I love those games, but in this game they really made the shift into a third-person shooter style survival horror game, and that in my opinion really just took the series to the next level. It definitely increased the intensity of the game, it added a lot of new gameplay mechanics, and on top of that it added some additional RPG elements to the game as well. And so as you go through and play throughout the game, you're playing as Leon Kennedy, who's trying to rescue the president's kidnapped daughter. And another cool addition to this game is the zombies are a little bit different. So they're not your traditional zombies like past games, but they're kind of more of a zombie parasite. And because of this, the zombie type creatures are a little bit more intelligent, and so they can use weapons. They can throw axes and knives at you. And they kind of can coordinate together to attack you. And so it's, like I said, a lot more intense and a really cool experience. And again, like I said, they add in some RPG elements to it. So as you kill different enemies, you'll find gold that you can later use to upgrade your weapons, buy more items. And if you're really effective at killing zombies and saving your ammo, you can even sell some of your ammo to purchase better items and equipment as well. And it's a whole lot of fun. Plus you get this remastered version, so the graphics are going to be a lot more crisp in this version of the game, and overall just play a lot better than maybe the original on the GameCube. But if you haven't played Resident Evil 4, I highly recommend it, and like I said, it's on sale right now, so definitely worth picking up if you haven't played it. Alright, so the last game on the list is the Grandia HD Collection, and so this is a collection of 2 Grandia games, Grandia 1 and 2, that are classic RPGs from the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 era. And so I remember playing Grandia 2 on the Dreamcast for the first time, and had a blast with it. And so again, like I said, this remastered version includes Grandia 1 and Grandia 2, and they've redone a lot of the graphics, making them more crisp while also maintaining the great gameplay from the original games. And so these games aren't as hardcore as maybe some recent RPGs where there's maybe not hundreds of quests that you can take on outside of the main storyline. They're a little bit more linear, but where this game really shines is the turn-based battle system. So what's really cool is the battles have this sort of timeline element to it where depending on how you take your actions and how you attack your enemies, you can sometimes push enemies back, making them not have a turn, or again, depending on how you time your attacks and abilities, can really sway the tide of battle. And so I really enjoyed these games playing them when I was younger, and so if you want a couple different classic RPGs that were some of the best of their time, I'd recommend checking out this Grandia HD Collection. But definitely let me know in the comments below if you've played any of these games yet, what you think about them, if there's any you're going to pick up now that you know that they're on sale or that you've heard about them. Let me know in the comments below. If you guys like this video, be sure to smash that like button as it really helps out the channel. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. And if you'd like to help support the channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. And if you'd like to plug into our live streams and Let's Plays we do on the channel, you can follow us on Twitch at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Twitch. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.